in this lecture we are going to discuss only a what? We are going to discuss about a Gaussian Legendres methods. Means how we find the nodal points and its weights. In a Newton Cotes or Newton quadrature formula, nodal points are already given, already known, only need to find out the weights in a Newton Cotes formula. But in a Gauss quadrature formula, there is a need to find out the nodes as well as corresponding value of the weight. This one is a difference between Newton quadrature formula, Newton quadrature method and Gaussian quadrature method. Once again I repeat this statement, in a Newton quadrature methods, x0, x1, x2, xn with the known values only need to determine the value of a lambda 0, lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda n, but in case of a Gaussian quadrature method, there is a need to find out a nodal points as well as its weight. So, this one is a difference between Gaussian quadrature and Newton quadrature, Newton Cotes formulae, Newton quadrature methods. So, here we are going to discuss about Gaussian Legendres methods. So, how we find these weights? How we find the values of a what? Values of a lambda 0, x0, lambda 1, x1, lambda 2, x2. So, if we use one point means we only use the one nodal points and corresponding weights. So, this the form of a formula is known as a 1 point formula. Similarly, 2 point formula, 3 point formula and 4 point formula, and similarly if the nodal point increases, there is a n plus 1 means n plus 1 nodes formula. So, here first we are going to derive the 1 point formula. In a 1 point formula, there is a need to what? There is a need to find out the value of x0 and corresponding weight w0. So, there are, as we discussed, one is a general method by the method of an undetermined coefficient. Second one, using the Legendre polynomial, we able to find out the values of x0 and lambda 0. So, first we discuss the general method, means method of a undetermined, with the help of a method of a undetermined coefficient, we try to find out the values of x0 and lambda 0. Then we with the help of a Legendre polynomial, we try to find out the value of x0 and lambda 0. So, how we derive the 1 point formula, 2 point formula and 3 point formula. So, now we derive the 1 point formula. Here first we write a 1 point formula, 1 point formula, 1 point formula, 1 point formula, 1 point formula for what? 1 point formula of a Gaussian Legendres integration. Gaussian Legendre integration. So, what is the meaning of a 1 point? 1 point means there is a need to find out a 1 nodal points and corresponding weights. 2 points formula means there is a need to find out a 2 nodal point x0 and x1, means 1 means 1 nodal points, 2 means 2 nodal points, 3 means 3 nodal point and corresponding weight. So, in a 1 point formula, if we try to write the Gaussian form of integration minus 1 to 1 fx dx, this equal to what? Summation I equal 1 to n fi, first we write a weight, lambda I f of xi. So, in a 1 point formula, there is a need to put the value of n equal to what? N equal to 0. So, in a one point formula also you may write n equal to what? N equal to 0. One point formula corresponding to n equal to 0, because if we put n equal to 0, there is only one nodal points and corresponding weights. So, for one point formula, this expression right hand side become what? I equal to 0 to 0, means there is a one term lambda 0 f of x 0, f of x 0. Now, how we find the values of lambda 0 and x 0? Lambda 0 and x 0, because if we have a value of x 0, then we able to find out the value of f of x 0, because we have a fx. So, how we find the lambda 0 and f of x 0? Sorry, lambda 0 and x 0. There are two unknowns. So, there is a need to two equation. There is a need to two equation in order to find out a two unknowns lambda 0 and x 0. So, how we find a two equation? So, we assume that this integration give the exact value for fx equal to 1 and fx equal x. So, suppose method is, let here assume that let method gives the exact value of integration for the function fx equal 1 and fx equal x. It's a polynomial of a degree 0 and polynomial of a degree 1. So, here if we put fx equal to 0, fx equal to 1, then what will happen here? This become, if fx equal to 1, so this become minus 1 to 1, fx with the 1. So, 1 if fx equal to 1, if fx equal 1, here if we write if fx equal 1. So, this implies that minus 1 to 1 fx dx 1 dx become what? Lambda 0 f of x 0. So, fx equal to 1. So, at any nodal point, what is the value of a function? Obviously, at x equal to x 0, the value of a function is a 1. So, we may write this one equal lambda 0. This one equal to what? This one equal to lambda 0. So, what is the value of integration? Value of integration here, what is the value of a left hand side? If we simplify this one, this become the 1 dx. If we find the integration of a 1, then this become x from minus 1 to 1 equal to what? Equal to lambda 0. So, if we simplify, then lambda 0 become what? 1 plus 1, this one equal to 2. So, what is the value of lambda 0? Lambda 0 with the 2. Now, what is the weight? Weight can we find with the help of a second function fx equal to x. So, if fx equal to x, then value of the integration become what? Minus 1 to 1 x dx, because here we put the value of fx is a what? Fx equal to x. Here we put fx equal to x. So, if we put fx equal to x, right hand side become what? Right hand side become lambda 0 and f of x 0, f of x 0. If fx equal to x, then what is the value of f of x 0? If we put x equal to x 0, then f of x 0 equal to what? F of x 0 equal x 0. So, this become lambda 0 x 0, lambda 0 x 0. So, if we find the value of integration, this become x square by 2, the value of integration of x is x square by 2 minus 1 to 1 equal to lambda 0 x 0. So, lambda 0 x 0, this implies that what is the value of integration? Here if we put the upper limit and lower limit, 0 equal to what? Lambda 0 x 0. Since the value of a lambda 0 with a 2 and lambda 0 does not equal to 0, this implies that x 0 equal to, this implies that x 0 equal to 0 since lambda 0 does not equal to 0. So, here we are able to find out value of a what? Value of a lambda 0 and x 0. So, what is the 1 point formula? So, if we write a 1 point formula become what? 1 point formula become summation, sorry, not a summation, minus 1 to 1, 1 point formula become what? Minus 1 to 1 fx dx equal lambda 0 f of x 0, and here the value of a lambda 0 is a what? Lambda 0 is a 2. So, 2 time of f of 0, f of 0. This one is a what? This one is a 1 point formula. This is a 1 point formula. This is a 1 point formula. Similarly, we can derive the 2 point formula. So, in a 2 point formula, what will happen? 2 point formula, 2 point formula, and this can be obtained by putting what? N equal to 1. 2 point formula for Gauss Legendre method, Gauss Legendres integration, for Gauss Legendre integration, for Gauss Legendre integration. So, what will happen? Here 2 points means there is a need to find out 2 nodal points and corresponding weights. So, here in a general form of a Gaussian integration, minus 1 to 1 fx dx. Here we write a general form of a Gaussian integration, summation I equal to 0 to what? 0 to n, and the value of a n is a what here? 0 to n, the value of n is a 1. So, 0 to 1 lambda I f of xi, and if we expand this summation, this become lambda 0 x 0 plus lambda, sorry, not a lambda 0 x 0, here lambda 0 f of x 0 plus lambda 1 f of x 1, lambda 1 f of x 1. So, here we find the nodal point x 0 and nodal point x 1, and corresponding weight lambda 0 and lambda 1. Once we find the value of x 0, then by putting in fx, we able to find out f of x 0, and if we find x 1 second nodal point and putting the value in fx, then we able to find out f of x 1. So, how many number of unknowns are here? There are 4 unknowns. First unknown is a lambda 0. There are 4 unknowns, and 4 unknowns are what? Total number of unknowns. Unknowns are what? Unknowns are lambda 0, lambda 1, x 0, x 1. Means how many number of unknowns? 4 unknowns. So, in order to find out values of a 4 unknown, unique value of a 4 unknowns, there is a need of at least 4 equation. So, how we get these 4 equation? So, here we assume that what? Here we assume that this integration give the exact value for what? Suppose let this integration this integration gives the exact value for what? For fx equal 1, fx equal 1, fx equal x, fx equal x square, and fx equal x cube, fx equal x cube. So, in this expression, first we put fx equal to 1, then we put fx equal x, then we put fx equal x square, then we put fx equal x cube. Then we get a 4 equation with 4 unknown, and solving these equation, we able to find out values of a lambda 0, lambda 1, x0 and x1. So, if we put fx equal 1, if fx equal 1, then what will happen here? So, if fx equal 1, then integration minus 1 to 1 dx, this become lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 1 x1, not a lambda 0 x1, sorry. So, 1 dx, this becomes summation I equals 0 to 1 lambda I f of xi, and here the value of fx is a 1. So, for any value at any nodal points, the value of a function is a 1. So, this become lambda 0 f of x0, and you may also write f of x0 with a 1, because fx is a 1. So, at any nodal point the value of a function is a 1, lambda 0 into 1 plus lambda 1 into 1. So, if we simplify this minus 1 to 1 dx, this integration become x. So, if we put the lower and upper limit, this become 2 equal lambda 0 plus lambda 1. This one is the first equation. Similarly, if we put fx equal x, this become minus 1 to 1 x dx, this become lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 1 x1, because fx equal to x. So, f of x0 equal x0, fx equal x, so f of x0 equal x1. So, the integration of x is x square by 2. So, if we put the upper and lower limit, so this becomes 0 equal lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 1 x1. This is the equation number 2. Similarly, if fx equal x square, then what will happen here? Fx equal x square, then integration become minus 1 to 1 x square dx, this become lambda 0 x0 square plus lambda 1 x1 square. So, what is the value of integration? X cube by 3. So, the value of integration, if we put the upper and lower limit, so x cube by 3 1. So, this become 2 by 3 equal lambda 0 x0 square plus lambda 1 x1 cube, x1 square. Why we write x1 square? Similarly, we put fx equal x cube, this one is a odd function. So, this become what? Minus 1 to 1 x cube dx lambda 0 x0 cube plus lambda 1 x1 cube. So, what is the value of integration? The value of integration become what? X to power 4 upon 4. If we put the upper and lower limit, the value of integration becomes 0. So, this becomes 0 equal what? 0 equal lambda 0 x0 cube plus lambda 1 x1 cube. So, this one is equation number 3 and this is equation number 4. So, if we solve these 4 equations, first one lambda 0 plus lambda 1 equal to 2, second one lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 1 x1 equal to 0, lambda 0 x0 square plus lambda 1 x1 square equal to 2 by 3, and lambda 0 x0 cube plus lambda 1 x1 cube equal to 0, then we able to find out the what? Then we able to find out the value of values of unknowns lambda 0, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, and x0, x1, x2, sorry, lambda 0, lambda 1, x0 and x1. So, once again here we write all four equation. First equation is a lambda 0 plus lambda 1 equal to 2. Second equation is a lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 1 x1 equal to 0. Third equation is a lambda 0 x0 square plus lambda 1 x1 square equal to 2 by 3. And fourth equation is a lambda 0 x0 cube plus lambda 1 x1 cube equal to what? Equal to 0. Equal to 0. So, if we solve these four equations, so this one is equation number 1, equation number 2, equation number 3, equation number 4. So, if we use the equation number 2 and 4 from second and 4, second and 4, from second, what will happen? From second, lambda 0 x0 equal to what? Lambda minus lambda 1 x1. And if we write equation number 4 here in this form, lambda 0 x0 cube plus what? Plus if we write lambda 1 x1 into x1 square, this one equal to 0. Now we put the value of a lambda 1 x1 from here. So here we put the value of a lambda 1 x1. So if we put the value of a lambda 1 x1 here, then this become lambda 0 x0 cube plus here become minus lambda 0 x0 and x1 square, this one equal to 0. If we simplify this one, then this become what? Lambda 0 x0 outside, inside this become x0 square minus x1 square equal to 0. So lambda 0 x0, this become x0 minus x1 and x0 plus x1 equal to 0. Now how many number of possibilities here? Lambda 0, since the weight cannot be 0, lambda 0 does not equal to 0, and x0 cannot be equal to x1. X0 cannot be equal to x1 because these are the two different nodal points. So x0 cannot be x1. So this cannot be 0. This cannot be 0. So only possibility is x0 cannot be 0, because if x0 equal to 0, then what will happen? X0 equal to 0, then from the equation second, lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 1 x1 equal to 0. So if x0 equal to 0, since lambda 0 does not equal to 0, so this term become what? This term becomes 0 plus lambda 1 x1 equal to what? Lambda 1 x1 equal to 0. So if x0 equal to 0, so lambda 1 x1 equal to 0, so x1 equal to what? X1 equal to 0. Lambda 1 does not equal to 0, this implies that x1 equal to 0, so x0 equal to what? X0 equal to x1. So lambda 0 cannot be 0, x0 cannot be 0, because if x0 be the 0, then x0 equal to x1. X0 cannot be equal to the x1 because these are the two different nodal points. So only possibility is the what? X0 plus x1 equal to 0. This term cannot be 0, means if we highlight this one, this term cannot be 0. X0 cannot be 0 because if x0 equal to 0, then x1 equal to 0, and then two nodal point become a same point. So two nodal point must be a different. So this cannot be 0, this one cannot be 0, and this one also cannot be 0 because x0 cannot be equal to the x1. So, only remaining term is a what? This one equal to 0. Only possibility is a what? Only possibility is a x0 plus x1 equal to what? 0. This implies that x0 equal to minus x1. x0 equal to minus x1. So, if we put x0 equal to minus x1 in a second equation, then what will happen? If we put x0 equal to minus x1 here, then lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 0 x0 plus lambda 1 what? Lambda 1 here we put x1 equal to minus x0, so minus x0 equal to 0. This means lambda 0 minus lambda 1 x0 equal to 0, this one. Since x0 cannot be 0 here, x0 cannot be 0 here, x0 cannot be 0 because if x0 equal to 0, then x1 equal to 0, two term becomes same. So, lambda 0 does not equal to 0, x0 does not equal to 0, x0 minus x1 does not equal to 0. So, what will happen here? If x0 does not equal to 0, not if x0, because since x0 does not equal to 0, since x0 does not equal to 0, this implies that lambda 0 minus lambda 1 equal to 0, this implies that lambda 0 equal to lambda 1. So, if we put lambda 0 equal to lambda 1 here, lambda 0 equal to lambda 1 in equation 1, if we put lambda 0 equal to lambda 1 in equation 1, now from equation 1, first. Now, from equation first, what will happen? Lambda 0 equal to lambda 1. So, 2 lambda 0 equal to 2. This implies that lambda 0 equal to 1, and similarly, if lambda 0 equal to 1 and 2 lambda 1 equal to 2, this implies that lambda 1 equal to 1. Lambda 0 equal to 1, lambda 1 equal to 1, and x0 equal to what? x0 equal to minus x1. We put these values in equation number 3. What we put in equation number 3? In equation number 3, we put what? We put lambda 0 equal to 1, lambda 1 equal to 1, lambda 1 equal to 1, and x0 equal minus x in equation 3. In equation 3, what is the equation 3? Lambda 0 x0 square plus lambda 1 x1 square equal to what? 2 by 3. 2 by 3. So, if we put this one, so here this become x0 square plus 1 into x0 square 1 into x0 minus of x0 whole square equal to 2 by 3. So, this become what? Twice x0 square equal to 2 by 3. So, x0 square equal to 1 by 3. This implies that x0 equal plus minus 1 upon under root 3, plus minus 1 upon under root 3. And if we put x0 equal plus minus 1 by root 3 in equation number 2, then we get x1 equal minus plus 1 upon x1 equal minus plus 1 upon under root 3. So, what is the formula? Here values are what? x0 equal like this one, and what is the value? Lambda 0 be the 1 and lambda 1 be the 1. So, what is the formula? 2-point formula become what? The 2-point formula become minus 1 to 1 fx dx equal to lambda 0 f of x0 plus lambda 1 f of x1, this become what? 1 f of plus 1 upon under root 3 plus 1 into f of minus 1 upon under root 3, minus 1 upon under root 3. So, this one is a what? This one is a 2-point formula. This one is a 2-point formula. 2-point formula. Similarly, we are able to write a what? 3-point formula. So, I am not going to derive the 3-point formula. In a similar manner, we are able to find out a 3-point formula. So, what is the 3-point formula? 3-point formula is a what? 3-point formula. 3-point formula. Formula by putting what? N equal to 2. The 3-point formula is a what? 3-point formula become what? 3-point formula become minus 1 to 1 fx dx equal to summation I equals 0 to 2 lambda I f of xi, or if we expand this expression, this become lambda 0 f of x0 plus lambda 1 f of x1 plus lambda 2 f of x2, f of x2. In a similar manner, as we derive for the n equal to 0, n equal to 1 for 1-point formula, for 2-point formula, we are able to derive the 3-point formula. Then we find the values of a lambda 0 equal to 5 by 9. So, lambda 0 equal to 5 by 9 and lambda 1 equal to 8 by 9 and lambda 2 equal to 5 by 9, x0 equal to plus under root 3 by 5, x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to minus under root 3 by 5. Rather than write here plus, if we write a plus minus, then here minus plus under root 3 by 5. So, what is the formula? Formula become what? Minus 1 to 1 fx dx equal 5 by 9 f of under root 3 by 5 plus 8 by 9 f of 0 plus 5 by 9 f of minus under root 3 by 5. So, this one is a what? This one is a 3-point formula. 3-point formula. So, similarly, we able to derive the 4-point formula, 5-point formula, but in general means only use of a 3-point formula, means 1-point formula, 2-point formula, 3-point formula, but you may also able to derive in a similar manner 4-point formula, 5-point formula and so on. So, here this is a 3-point formula. So, 1-point formula, 2-point formula, 3-point formula. What is the first 1-point formula? 2 into f of 0, because lambda 0 with the 2 and lambda x0 with the 0. What is the 2-point formula? Lambda 0 with the 1, lambda 1 with the 1, x0 with the plus 1 upon root 3 plus minus 1 upon root 3 and x1 is a minus plus 1 upon root 3, and 3-point formula is a what? 3-point formula is a, here already we derived, this one is a 2-point formula, this one is a 3-point formula.